And you know, the big thing about it too is when we do it, we want to do it guilt-free. That's kind of the nice thing about when teachings are fundamentalist. You know, when people are told, you have to do this, when people honored the Sabbath in that way, they felt like, well, I have to, so they weren't guilty about it. When we have more choice, we get out there to have those moments for ourselves, but we feel guilty. We should not feel guilty when we're rejuvenating and replenishing, letting God enjoy itself through us. And if we don't honor, bless you, if we don't honor that part of us, we lose perspective. We don't allow ourselves to be nourished. You know, Muller in his book raises an example of some nuns who were responsible for an abbey out in the countryside. And so they had farmland and they had cows. And the cows were allowed to, you know, wander all over the territory and graze in the pastures. And one day someone recommended to them that the cows actually should be penned in different areas, like they should pen an area of the land and let the cows graze that area and fertilize that area really thoroughly. And when it was done, then let that area rest and move the pen to another section. And guess what happened after a couple of years? When the cows were not allowed to trot all over the land, those areas that had been left to rest for a period of time suddenly grew grasses and herbs and plants that had never grown before because they were always being stomped on. And when the cows were brought back to those pastures, the grasses that they were eating were so much more nourishing, they did not need to supplement their diet with corn like they had in the past. What if we were to section off parts of our lives to just replenish and rest and enjoy life? What parts of God's nature might we be stomping on with our busyness and not allowing to emerge? You know, could it be more patience, more peace, more optimism, more of a sense of connection with loved ones? What might be suppressed right now by all the busyness that we tell ourselves we have to stay engaged in? You know, years back, I'm not going to tell you how many, but it's quite a few, back in not even my last corporate job that you hear about a lot, or the one before that, I was running a help desk, and we had had a corporate merger, and my boss was laid off. They sent in an interim boss that had never met me. And on our first day, our mainframe system that we were connected to for all our calls, our service calls that we responded to, had crashed. And for 5 days, they were unable to restore it. So we were scrambling to get a hold of all the information about service calls, where to send people, what needed to be done. Our center went from where I just felt so wonderful bragging to people that we answered 90% of our calls on 3 rings, no hold times, to seeing our monitors saying there were 15-minute hold times. It was crazy. And I just jumped in there with my employees, and we worked at it. And I remember after the first day, this interim boss came to me at the end of the day, and he said, you know, I have never seen a manager jump in, roll up his sleeves like you did, and just be with the people and support them. He said, I am so impressed. I really am. It was an honor to be here and watch you do that. I thought, wow, this guy is so insightful. He barely, this is a good guy. Now, after day 2, when I was in there working with the employees, at the end of the day, he called me into his office. He said, listen, you know, I told you yesterday how great you were about being in there with the employees. I need to tell you, you also have a big weakness.